Welcome back to another episode of Critically Incorrect, your weekly gaming podcast. I'm your host, Brandon R. Online, here today with Charlie, if you wanted to say hi.
Hello.
Yes, we are now in February, the month where our wallets are now going to be hurting in pain, and this week we saw the release of Dying Light to Stay Human, so I guess I'll just quickly mention that, as that's really the only release this week. We're recording this on Thursday, so we won't have impressions for you this week, but next week we both will be talking about what we think about the game, so yeah. We'll look forward to that, and then we'll also be talking about some of the reviews that have come out later on in this episode. With that being said, as we always start off these episodes with, Charlie, what have you been playing over the last week or so?
Annoyingly, I've been working a lot this week, and I'm not going to be off until like next Wednesday, so I haven't had a ton of time to play much. But I've played a few things here and there. I played a couple hours of GTFO with some friends a couple nights ago. We just fancy playing it again because we did play a bit when 1.0 came out. We had quite a bit of fun with it, but managing to get like all four of us on at the same time at the moment has been quite difficult. So we sat down and played through another mission of that, which has been quite fun because there's a load of content in that game that we've just never experienced because we were never able to beat a mission before. But the game's much like easier and manageable now, so that's been quite fun. And then I did talk about it last week on the podcast, but I did actually end up picking up Zenith for VR, which is the VR MMO that came out last week. I waited a few days just to see how servers were holding up and what people were thinking. And then I picked it up on Sunday, I want to say Sunday night or Monday morning, something like that. I've only played a couple hours so far, but I'm really enjoying it. It's a lot of fun. The social aspect of it is great because I think my biggest problem with MMOs is that you don't get as much of the social aspect in game anymore. Just because most people play in parties or are on Discord and that kind of thing. Whereas with Zenith, because everyone is wearing a VR headset, everyone has got a mic, so you've just got like loads of people in these big areas just talking to each other, and like especially on the Europe servers it's really funny because you'll have like a group of French people all in one area and you'll have a group of like just British people in one area all talking to each other. It's really funny. And like seeing like 20 people all in the middle of like a field like open up like this big cooking thing and start cooking stuff is just hilarious to watch. But yeah, I'm having fun with that. I'm definitely going to be playing more of that one over the next few weeks. So that's been pretty good. I've been playing a bit more Beat Saber, just been playing around with mods and stuff. There's meant to be, like I said last week, there's meant to be some big update coming out soon. So just getting ready for that by getting back into that game. And then that's about it, really. I've just been kind of like holding off on playing stuff until Dying Light 2 comes out because that's going to be my big game over at least the weekend. And then obviously Sifu next week as well. So I'll be playing that. But that has been about it, I think.
Right
Oh,
on.
and Uncharted. Wait, Uncharted.
Oh
Of
yeah,
course.
you played like half of that, right?
Yeah,
Uncharted
yeah.
4.
So I've played a decent chunk of the remaster, but I guess we can talk about that after you've said your impressions and stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I'll go over my like unique games, and then we'll both talk about Uncharted. So yeah, over the last week, I've actually streamed twice, which is nice. So yeah, I streamed last Friday. I played some Deep Rock with Labs, a good friend of mine. That was fun. Yeah, I do enjoy streaming. And then I ended up streaming, I think it was 2 days ago on Tuesday. I played some Uncharted. It's funny, like I literally had it set. I was gonna play some Horizon since obviously I'm still like only like 7 or 8 hours into that game, and obviously it's like an RPG, so I have a long ways to go before I can beat the game before Forbidden West. And then I was just like, you know what? I don't feel like streaming Horizon. I end up just playing some Uncharted 4. So that was really fun. I haven't been playing it since I streamed it. I think I just want to play through it whenever I stream. So I'm looking forward to playing hopefully more of that in the weekend. That being said, besides that and like maybe, actually I think it's just been that. And like I think I played like maybe an hour of Spelunky 2 one night when I just needed like a break. I've just been focused on midterms the past week because yeah, this week's been a lot to work. I still have midterms, two of them tomorrow. So yeah, I'm not out of the thick of it just yet, but soon. So hopefully I'll be able to play some more this weekend as time opens up. Definitely want to get into Dying Light 2 as much as I can. I'm just gonna work as hard as I can the next day or so I can, play some of that. Yeah, we'll get into probably the reviews for that. We have that later, but I think it makes sense to start off with Dying Light 2 reviews. So reviews came out, I want to believe, yesterday. It was weird. They had like a weird staggered release where they let like the critics first and then like social media influencers, they dropped it after that. The game general consensus is, I'd say, good slash mixed. It seems like the game itself is pretty good. The two areas that I've always been hearing constantly about, which is bringing this game down, is bugs and the story. So apparently the story is nothing crazy. It's I don't know if it's bad or anything, but people have knocked it down because of the story. I personally don't really care about Dying Light 2 story, so it don't matter about that. The bugs, on the other hand, is a little bit worrying, obviously. Um, yeah, so far it seems like it's to each their own. Like Charlie was telling me that Skillup's his review, he mentioned that he didn't like come across any bugs on PC, but a lot of people had issues on like console and stuff like that. So it seems like they're still, having issues there. So definitely keep that in mind if you're picking up Dying Light 2 this week. Look at the platform you're buying it on, and make sure that the version you're getting is good. But yeah, overall, I'd say I was kind of surprised it was as low as it was, but at the same time, it doesn't seem like the game itself seems to be pretty bad. It seems like it's just being dragged by like technical issues. So I'm hoping that I still have a good fun time with it this weekend. But yeah, Charlie, what'd you think about the reviews and what you saw out there?
Yeah, I think it was about where I thought it would be. I think the biggest surprise for me was how mixed it was. There's some people who are really, really enjoying it, and then some people who are kind of meh on it. Like, I know, like, Game Informer gave it, like, a 9.5, and said, I think it was Andrew Reiner did that one. He was saying it's, like, one of his favorite RPGs of all time. Like, which is insanely different compared to a lot of the other reviews. But I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I think, like you said, most people are in agreement that the story's pretty weak and it doesn't really do anything new for the like zombie post-apocalyptic genre, right? It just is the typical go to point A to point B. The zombies aren't the real bad guys, the humans are, that kind of thing. Just your typical post-apocalypse stuff. Nothing really like mind-blowing, but I'm not really playing it for that. I'm playing it for, the parkour and some fun gameplay and like open world typical stuff. I think most people have actually been pretty positive on the gameplay side of it and basically saying that the open world is surprisingly fun and that nothing really gets repetitive, even though the game is meant to be quite long. I know SkillUp was saying in his review that like their 20-hour estimate is actually like quite like bold, to be honest. He was saying that if you were like speed running the game you might be able to, but he was saying you're probably looking at more like 30 hours to do just the main campaign. I mean, I'm all for a long game if it's fun throughout. I know quite a few of the reviews are saying that the story does get a bit bloated towards the end, and then kind of just ends. It almost feels like they kind of ran out of ideas towards the end and didn't really know how to end it. So I have to wait and see how that turns out. But overall, I'm just really excited to get my hands on it. To be honest, the parkour stuff looks really fun, and the combat looks much improved over the original when it comes to like fighting humans and stuff. So yeah, I'm just excited to give it a go.
And yeah, nice. I'm definitely looking forward to checking it out. Yeah, just looks like a fun time. Also realized, speaking of impressions, we didn't really go over the Uncharted Legacy of Thieves collection too much.
Yes, yeah.
So yeah, I guess first of all, give us your thoughts and note like anything in particular that stands out to you, whether that be like the DualSense or any of the PS5 upgrades. Yeah, here's your chance.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, there's not really anything that stands out to me in it. It basically just feels like a port, right? Like there isn't really too much going on that makes it visually better or like gameplay wise changes much. The DualSense stuff is cool, but honestly, they don't do too much. They've got like the triggers, and I noticed there's a few little times where it'll do some cool vibration things, but nothing like major. It's not like you're running around, you're constantly getting feedback because there just isn't that. But I'm fine with that. Like, I just wanted to be able to play the game at a higher frame rate, and you get that. And it does look visually a little bit better. Just having a slightly higher resolution on that performance mode. And obviously that is the way to play it. I haven't gotten to try Performance Plus just because I can't seem to get the PS5 to work at 120 on my 144 hertz monitor. I think it's because my
Same.
monitor can't lock to 120. So my PS5 can't detect it as a 120 hertz display, which is kind of annoying, but whatever. When it comes out on PC, I'll be trying it again anyway. Um, I think the biggest like thing that sucks for me is that they just didn't bother putting the multiplayer in. I get why, right? Like the multiplayer isn't anything to write home about, but it would have been nice, especially when it comes to PC. I would have loved to be able to play the multiplayer on PC, but obviously that's not going to happen, which is a shame. And I think the only other thing that annoyed me was the way they've like done the save transfer, because I've got the platinum for 4. I don't for Lost Legacy. Um, but I didn't get the platinum when I transferred my save. It gave me like all of my trophies, bar like a few of the really like random ones, like sneak through the graveyard in Scotland or whatever without being detected, and like get through the jungle section without killing anyone. And like get this amount of kills with this weapon and stuff. Like those weird ones didn't unlock. But all like the treasure ones and stuff like that did. So that's kind of annoying. So I'm having to do some of those trophies again. And I won't be able to get the platinum for it because they don't have 2 separate platinums, which I also don't like. So like I noticed on the trophy list for the game, the very final trophy to get the platinum is to get all trophies in Lost Legacy. So you have to basically do all of Lost Legacy's platinum to get the platinum for the collection, which is kind of weird. I don't know why they don't just have 2 trophy sets like they did with like Nathan Drake collection where you had all 3, right? So that's kind of weird and kind of sucks because I'm gonna have to go and eventually platinum Lost Legacy to get the platinum for this. But I'm sure I'll do it eventually. But it's just been fun to play it at 60 FPS, right? Like it just feels really good at that higher frame rate. And it's just fun to replay the game because I haven't played through Uncharted 4 in probably a year or 2 now.
Yeah, I echo your thoughts completely. Like the biggest thing for me is definitely the 60 FPS. I was like very hesitant whether or not I was gonna see the Performance Plus on my monitor, and like sure enough, it didn't pop up. Like Sony support for monitors is like non-existent. Like you literally have to have like the perfect setup in order to have like any of these like extra features on there. So kind of annoying. Playing it at just 1080p 60 currently because obviously I don't have my 4K monitor. So it literally just feels like I'm playing the PS4 version but at a higher frame rate, which I don't mind. Honestly, the 60 FPS goes a long way. The other big difference that I've noticed besides the 60 FPS has been the SSD load times. Like I think it was like you can literally see me
Yeah.
on stream. Like I literally clicked on it and then like within 2 seconds it loaded. And anyone that's played any Naughty Dog game ever since like the PS3 or PS4, that thing takes like 30 seconds of like some icon on the bottom right spinning around forever. So it felt uncanny to see like a Naughty Dog game boot up in 2 seconds. Like I think it's the fastest I've seen any PS5 game boot up. Like I'm not trying to like even exaggerate. Like I have a clip of it somewhere on my stream of how fast that thing booted up. It's crazy. But yeah, besides that, it's mainly just been the joy of replaying Uncharted 4. Like I forgot how much I enjoyed it. Like it's so cool to play like an Uncharted game that was like on the PS4. Just because I don't know, I haven't played Uncharted 4 like over and over again so many times. I definitely have played it, a couple times over the years, but I want to say it's been at least like maybe 2 years since I've replayed it, or maybe like longer. So yeah, playing through it, like I don't know, I was always one of those people that were like not disappointed by Uncharted 4 when it first came out, but like I was 15 and I was expecting it to be like Uncharted 1 through 3, where it was a lot more gameplay focused, and obviously Uncharted 4 was a lot more heavy on the story front, and I appreciate that now looking back at it, but like as a kid, I was like, what is this? Like, let me just play the game and like fight. So like I've had like a newfound respect for it over the years, so it's been nice to revisit that. Um, yeah, I haven't touched Lost Legacy. I never did end up getting the platinum on the original PS4 version. So yeah, maybe I'll eventually do that. I'm not really into like collecting platinums nowadays because if I have extra time, I'm really just gonna go to the next game in my backlog. But we'll see. Never say never. I definitely want to play through Lost Legacy again as well. So yeah, I've been having fun with that. It's nice to have essentially every Uncharted game now at 60 FPS on PS5. Because you got the Nathan Drake collection, which of course those 3 have always been at 60 FPS since PS4, and now we have 4 in Lost Legacy, and even we have Part 2, obviously via the patch. So yeah, love that 60 FPS goodness. I do want to see how it plays on PC though, for sure. I'm very excited to see what kind of things I can get on there, and man, imagine the modding that can happen on Uncharted like that. We've never seen that before. That'd be crazy. So yeah, very, very excited. But yeah, we'll move on. Anyways, a surprise news story, well, somewhat of a surprise news story, came with Ghostwire Tokyo. We talked about this in the past, about how we think this game was like, well, we thought this game was coming in like October, but they had like a surprise gameplay reveal today. I think like the showcase was like what 10 to 15 minutes long, and they released a release date for the game, which is March 25th, which is crazy. You wouldn't expect this game to come out so soon. Yeah, that's kind of unheard of for like the AAA market to like announce a release date that soon. Like they literally must be going gold like in a few weeks, and they're announcing the release date now. But hey, I'll take it. I haven't seen the showcase just yet because obviously it was like it literally just happened right before we started recording. But I am interested in seeing that after that. So I'm looking forward to seeing the showcase later tonight. But very excited about that release date. What about you, Charlie?
Yeah, I mean, like you, I think I was also a bit surprised by the date. Um, at the same time, I was kind of expecting, because I know like Tom Henderson had been talking about the game recently, saying that he'd been hearing about like them showing off the game relatively soon because it was leading up to the end of development, which makes sense. I think it was what originally meant to come out end of last year, and then got delayed to spring, so it lines up about right. It's an interesting time for it to launch though. Like it is just a weird one, right? Um, but yeah, overall, I'm probably gonna get it. The gameplay looks pretty fun. I mean, the animation and stuff is really good. Like the hand animations and things, if you doing all the moves and stuff, looks so cool. And all that stuff looks really fun. The enemies look kind of dull, not in like a design sense, but like AI sense. They just kind of stand there and let you kill them by the looks of things, which is a bit weird. And I get that it's not really a horror game, like they say in the dev thing afterwards, like it's their first like action adventure game. So it is like it's not obviously Evil Within or anything like that. But it would be nice to see them be a bit more like aggressive and stuff. But we'll see. Maybe it's just for the gameplay demo, right? But yeah, I'm pretty positive on it. The only thing that kind of looked a bit off to me was how you kind of explore the world, because it is open world, but the movement seemed kind of like a clunky, like grappling to like these weird points to get to like rooftops and stuff look kind of weird. Um, but I mean, maybe it's all right when you're playing the game and stuff. But overall, I'm pretty positive. I think there was another interesting thing of like at first I thought maybe I was watching like a Japanese version of the stream, but it seems like maybe there's just no. I mean, there probably is English localization, but I guess that's not how they're gonna um, advertise the game because everything was in Japanese, which is pretty cool. Especially for a game like published by Bethesda, you would have thought they'd do all of the like event and stuff in English, but they had like a an English narrator or whatever. But then it was all the game and stuff was in Japanese with subtitles. So that's pretty cool that they're gonna most likely be promoting the game like that. That'll probably be the way I play the game if that's how it was intended, since it's made by Japanese devs and set in Tokyo, right? Makes sense. But yeah, I'm pretty positive on it. It'll be interesting to see what you think about it, Brian, once you see the footage.
Sweet, I'm looking forward to watching it. Yes, having it promoted in Japanese is cool. Definitely sounds cool. Yeah, that is surprising, but also like welcoming. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I don't really have any thoughts, obviously, since I haven't watched it, but definitely looking forward to watching it. Happy about that release date. Anyways, another showcase that happened this week came in the form of Gran Turismo 7. This happened yesterday. I watched a bit of it. I was watching on Twitch, and I saw them showing off like the replay mode and some of the cool new features that they added into Gran Turismo 7 regarding like how like the camera angles change based on the music that's playing. Obviously, I'm not too big of a racing fan, so obviously I'm still like I don't know. I'm on the fence of picking up the game just because obviously it's not like really my genre. I've never played a Gran Turismo game, but I definitely do want to check one out. So maybe I will start with 7. Yeah, it looked pretty cool, honestly. Like the graphics still look great. Yeah, honestly, if you're already buying this game, this showcase is kind of just like the launch-ish showcase where they just go into the nitty-gritty, right? Like I imagine you already know if you want this game or not. So yeah, what'd you think about that showcase, Charlie?
Yeah, I didn't watch the whole thing mainly because I'm not a big Gran Turismo fan, so I saw some bits and pieces. I think the most impressive thing I saw was probably the photo mode, to be honest. Like some of the stuff you can do with that looks literally insane. Like the way they were showing you can pick like car models from the game and place them in like real world locations that they've gone and scanned from across the world, so you can literally recreate images that are almost impossible to take in real life because of how fast cars move and that kind of thing, and how they were like composing the shots and stuff like that. Like some of them looked literally insane. So I'm actually really excited to see how people do stuff like that on Twitter, because I'm not a big fan of like taking pictures in photo mode, but I love seeing them on Twitter and stuff. So I'm excited about that. Like you, I'm kind of like on the fence about getting it, right? Because I actually used to play a decent chunk of GT5 on PS3. I remember sitting down like the day I got that for like, and I just had the game updating for like 8 hours or something, because that game had so many updates, and the internet in the UK back then was not good. But I remember enjoying that game quite a bit. Especially like the campaign modes and stuff, and that's why I didn't really like GT Sport on PS4, because there wasn't like a campaign mode or anything, which was kind of weird. But I guess it makes sense now that it wasn't really classed as a main title. So I'm thinking about picking it up. I'll probably wait until after launch, and maybe grab it from work or something. But I'm definitely interested in it. The only thing that kind of puts me off with a thing like GT is like when you see all the in-depth like customization, because I don't know enough about cars to really like care about it or know what I'm doing there. So if there's a way to play the game and just have fun and pick a car and not have to worry about adjusting like how the tires work and like how everything's positioned and stuff, then cool. As long as I don't have to touch all that stuff, because I don't know what any of it means really. If I can just have a fun like driving simulator, right, some really nice graphics, then I'll give it a go. But it looks cool nonetheless.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Man, I just really wish, like, whenever I see Gran Turismo 7, I just wish I had my 4K monitor so I can play that. Like, if I had my 4K monitor, I'd probably end up buying it, but I'll definitely wait until I get back, if I do pick it up. But yeah, exciting. That game comes out, I think, in less than a month, or no, about a month now, March 4th, 2022. So yeah, getting really, really close here. Exciting. Anyways, another news story. Infinity Ward is developing this year's Call of Duty, which isn't really surprising if you think about it, because Sledgehammer developed last year's, and then obviously the one before that was Treyarch. Charlie, do you know if any chance has it been rumored what this game is? Is it Modern Warfare 2? Is it Ghost 2, or what is this COD
It's
2022?
I mean, it's all but confirmed that it's just going to be Modern Warfare 2. I know Tom Henderson's already been talking about a lot of stuff, like their plans for the game. I think currently, I mean, this kind of got backed up in the recent like investor call, but they're working on like a big new mode for this one, which is meant to be like their version of Tarkov, called like the DMZ, I think is the like working title, which is going to be their co-op mode for this game. And then obviously having like a new version of like the Warzone map and stuff to go along with it, at launch or like next year or something. But yeah, I mean, I'm interested to see how this turns out, because I really enjoyed Modern Warfare. I think it's, other than like Cold War, I think it's the last one that I really, really enjoyed, both the campaign and multiplayer. Like Cold War, I enjoyed the multiplayer, but I really liked it for the zombies more than anything. And Vanguard was fun for a little while, but I literally have not played it at all since the Warzone map came out. So, and I don't know how much I will dive back into that throughout the year. And I think that's mainly due to like the lack of like content they can really add when they're limited to like World War II guns and stuff. Obviously, with the Modern Warfare stuff, there's so much you can do. So, I'm really excited to see how that one turns out. I do hope it's Modern Warfare 2, but I'm 99.9% sure it will be. So, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I really liked Modern Warfare. That was like probably my favorite one in the last 5 years. I remember that being like definitely a highlight. I consider that right up there with like close-ish to Advanced Warfare in terms of my favorite PS4 generation Call of Duty. So I'd be really happy with that. So yeah, not thrilled that like obviously, like I want Call of Duty to take a break more than anything. That's my ideal outcome, but this one obviously is probably like the best situation outside of that. So I'll definitely take that, and hopefully it's good. We'll see. Anyways, a little small news story is Battlefield 2042 Season 1 has been delayed from March to summer. So, yeah, quite a big delay. That's kind of weird reading that if you think about it. Like, Season 1 of this game that came out in, like, November is not coming out until, like, 9 months after this game came out in the summertime. Charlie, do you know more about this than I do?
Yeah, so they basically, it's really weird because they've been so like stingy with like information on the game and like what their plans are and like patching and content and that kind of thing. Like the only stuff they've been tweeting for the past few months is just like these weird like bits of concept art and stuff, and they just read like their scheduled tweets that were made like months ago as if the game launched in like a perfect state or something, when obviously it didn't. And there's a lot of work that needs to be done. Annoyingly, the way they announced all this was literally like the day of EA's investor call, so it just kind of read like, "Hey, we need to put out this information so we don't lose a ton of like shareholders." Um, but it was basically just saying that they're delaying the first season of like new content to give them more time to patch and polish the game. From what I could see and from what's been said, like the main DICE studio isn't working on the new content. They're doing all like the patching and also working on whatever their next game is. And it's the studio that worked on Portal that are doing all like the post-launch stuff, like all the new maps and things. The name of their studio has completely escaped me. But they're meant to be doing all the new content. But
That the
yeah,
one
it's
being
just
led by Vince?
yes, I think. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think so. Um, so yeah, that's been delayed to the summer. And then they're just planning to fill out the time with patches. They've basically said that like they're still planning to do the whole year of like content, the 4 seasons. It's just it's gonna happen later. The way they tried to like fix this for fans who bought like the gold edition or whatever, is they've got like a new cosmetic pack that they're just gonna give to everyone, but it's just like I don't know what their plan is at this point, honestly. Like I was excited to give the game another go when a new map and stuff came out, but to be honest, by the time this comes out, I feel like no one cares. Like the game is completely dead on PC. Like just no one. Like the Steam charts, then there's literally like no one playing the game. It's insane. Um, yeah, it's sad to see, but like if you don't say like your plans or like are constantly updating people, of course that's gonna happen. Like they have literally not been saying anything for months, and honestly, I don't think that's Dice's fault really. Like I imagine sure it's partially that, but I imagine there's a lot of devs at Dice that are working really hard, but EA and like the community like managers at Dice are just not doing a good job of communicating any of that. Um, and I just don't see any of that changing. To be honest with you, like I really hope it does, but the past few months have not been kind to Battlefield. So, yeah, I mean, I'll definitely like keep an eye on all this stuff, but I'm not hopeful at this point for whatever's coming next for Battlefield.
Yeah, neither am I. It's crazy how quick this game died, considering like the hype when that
Yeah,
game was announced. It really felt like Battlefield was coming back, but no, it's not.
yeah.
Hopefully, well, it's just a bummer. Anyways, PlayStation had an investors call meeting this week, and we learned a bit more about their plans. I guess we didn't really add this on here, so maybe this is probably makes more sense to mention before, but PlayStation bought Bungie this week. Surprise, surprise. Yeah, they bought them for I think like 2.3 billion, something crazy, or it might have been
I think it was
3.2
three
billion.
point six or something like that.
3.6 billion. Okay, that makes more sense. Yeah, pretty big for PlayStation, obviously, considering Sony isn't as big as like Microsoft or anything. People are wondering what this meant. Bungie, except like apparently just put out a blog post or just saying like we still remain like the creative freedom for like what we're doing going forward with everything going on in Destiny. We're just getting the support from PlayStation, and with the investors earning like comment they made, which I'll talk about here in a minute. It seems like it's pretty clear why they decided to acquire Bungie. Besides, obviously, for the profits, obviously, they want to have experience with like live service games and how to like build like a community like that. I guess I'll mention it right here because it's relevant, but PlayStation apparently plans to launch more than like 10 live service games by 2036, or 2026, sorry, which is pretty crazy. Yeah, I think they said they plan to like double the amount of revenue they're making from their first party studios. So yeah, it looks like we're in for a lot of live service games. The only one we know right now is definitely, Factions 2. That's definitely got to be one of them. And then I think the Twisted Metal game most likely
Yeah.
is going to probably be a live service game as well. So those are the two that immediately come to mind. But yeah, with that being said, obviously the main story here with them acquiring Bungie is crazy, right? This has been in the talks for apparently like 5 months or so. People are like saying, oh, this is like a response to Microsoft buying Activision, which it definitely wasn't, obviously, to like the big news of it. I mean, obviously, it could have been a response to like the rumblings they heard, but yeah, it definitely wasn't. They don't move that fast, in legal terms. So, yeah, just crazy. Like, if you think about just January alone, Microsoft bought Activision Blizzard, Sony bought Bungie, and Take Two bought Zynga. Like, it's just been crazy acquisitions just in that 1 month alone. But yeah, what'd you think about both of those news stories with, first of all, Sony acquiring Bungie, but also the fact that PlayStation wants to launch 10 live service games by 2026?
Yeah, so I think the live service games thing kind of makes sense, right? Like we knew going into this generation that Sony really wanted to double down more on their multiplayer games and just more like profitability post launch. I think the fact that it's more than 10 is kind of crazy. Like within what 4 or 5 years that they plan to launch that many games that are live service alongside all the games that they'll have in the pipeline as your traditional single player stuff from Sony. So I think that's quite interesting. And then obviously that lines up perfectly with acquiring Bungie, one of the biggest, live service games out there, Destiny. Like, who better to really hire to be able to get like experience and feedback from when they want help from that studio for their others. But yeah, I mean, it's a really interesting one. It makes a lot of sense, and I see what Sony are doing. I think a lot of people at first were like, hang on a second, like, what does this mean for Destiny? Probably not much, which obviously it doesn't. It is still going to stay multi platform and all that jazz. But also their future IPs, they are obviously working on other stuff that isn't Destiny. But again, they're planning to stay an independent studio, even though they are owned by Sony. Like, they are still going to self publish Destiny, which is pretty interesting that Sony would do something like that.
Yeah.
But also their other IPs are still going to be self-published as well. So yeah, it's interesting to see Sony do more of this. They're like a PlayStation studio, but act kind of independently. Although I suppose it might kind of work in the same kind of fashion of the Sony San Diego studio, right? Like, they're owned by Sony, but they work on games for multi-platform now with MLB now coming to Switch as well as Xbox. So yeah, it's interesting to see Sony go down this route. I think the weirder thing about the story was there started to be some info come out. Like, analysts were saying that Sony like severely overpaid for Bungie to make sure they got the deal, because there's also rumors that Microsoft were trying to buy them back for a little while, and it ended up being that Bungie picked Sony just because they saw better value there in joining that team. And then I think there was an even more recent thing that was like Sony is putting like $1 billion of the dollars they put into the deal towards like helping staff like retain jobs and making sure that they're gonna want to stay with the company, which equates to like nearly $1 million per staff member. Like, which I
That's
think is
crazy.
quite telling of how much they paid for the studio. Um,
Jesus.
like, so yeah, it does seem like they did overpay quite a bit when you take all that into account, right? But I mean, I imagine it's a really big day for all of the devs. I'm sure they were super excited about the news. Like, some people might think of it as quite negative, but if anything, it just gives more security to all the staff members, right? Because they've got that extra like headroom of having a big like company running them now. So yeah, it's cool news. I'll be interested to see where this goes in the future, but honestly, I don't expect too much to change with Bungie, except they'll help out with the other Sony studios.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. Like I saw Jason Schreier, he tweeted out like in like 2007 they left Xbox, and then like recently, obviously they left Activision a few years ago, and now they're being acquired by like another studio, but like this or by another publisher. But this one is a bit different, obviously, because obviously PlayStation is allowing them to keep their creative control. So it's like kind of like an ideal situation where you still get the creative rights to what you want to pursue going forward, but now you just have all this like extra money coming in that pretty much is a lot more safer for game development for Bungie now, which is cool. So yeah, assuming that PlayStation keeps that like idea of that deal, just letting them be independent in mind, that's pretty great, honestly. I see it almost just like a big third party deal. Like it doesn't really, they don't really match the first party studio that PlayStation has right now, where it's all like story driven focused. They're very like definitely like the black sheep of the group of PlayStation studios if they were to join. Well, I mean they kind of are joined. It's weird. But yeah, it's interesting. I definitely do like that PlayStation acquired them for those reasons, because it's pretty clear that PlayStation doesn't really know how to do live service. If you look at Destruction All Stars and like the lessons they could have learned from there with like wanting to charge $70 and stuff like that, and just obviously the technology in mind with like crossplay, like if this can mean that Factions 2 comes to PC as well, that'd be great. Just a lot more optimism. And then obviously we'll talk about this later, but like Discord integration finally coming to PlayStation, like yeah, hopefully we'll see some cool stuff from PlayStation going forward. But yeah, cool news story there. Anyways, a little small news story comes from the Shovel Knight devs. They put out their newest game on Kickstarter called Mina the Hollower. I looked at the page a bit. They already easily got past their goal of like 311,000. They're now out like 570,000 or something crazy. Yeah, definitely go check out their page if you're into Yacht Club games. Very, very different. It looks like it's a top-down, like I don't even know how to describe it, like beat 'em up / action adventure.
I think it's like Zelda type.
Zelda, like yeah, there we go. That's the best way to describe it. But yeah, it looks pretty interesting, honestly. I'm definitely looking forward to this game already, just because of the genre that it is. I wasn't the biggest fan of Shovel Knight. I did play it on Switch, and I definitely really liked it, despite its genre not really being my sort of thing. But this one looks really great. Yeah, what'd you think about that, Charlie?
Yeah, it was a really like weird announcement because I forgot that I think they did like an event, like a live stream, and I completely forgot it was happening, and then suddenly I just saw this. I think it's kind of weird that they're doing a Kickstarter. We both said before we started recording, like the
Yeah.
amount of money they've made over the years from Shovel Knight and the various like spin-off games and merch and all that kind of stuff. Like it's crazy that they are doing a Kickstarter. I wonder if it's just because, they want to make sure that they have the money to, because who knows, maybe this doesn't do as well as Shovel Knight. There's always that like potential, right? Like Shovel Knight was their first ever game. It blew up like crazy. There's always the potential that they could pump a ton of money into this and then it doesn't do too well. So I kind of get it from that perspective with it being a new IP and stuff. This one looks quite interesting to me. Like I've played bits of Shovel Knight over the years, but I've never been able to really like get into it. But I do want to go back and play it sometime because I do have it on Switch. But this one definitely looks like it's going to appeal more to me than Shovel Knight did. But it is a long way off. I think the Kickstarter page says that they expect to deliver copies of the game like end of next year, so like
Sweet.
holiday 2023. So it's still a while off. So I don't know how long it's been in development for. I imagine a few years because I don't think they've been working on any Shovel Knight content for 2 or 3 years at this point, because I think a lot of the spin-off games are made by other teams. But cool to see nonetheless that they're finally showing off the next project.
Yeah, this and the game that's coming from the Stardew Valley dev, the Chocolate Factory, like both of these indie games look really, really cool. And they're definitely at the high point of my list for indie titles, so very, very cool. Now we just need to hear about what Silk Song. That's been like years since we've seen that game. Jeez. So yeah, now we're up for that one. Anyways, a little small news story is just a rumor. So Cyberpunk 2077 Next Gen version was reportedly found on the PS5 database. So obviously if that happens, that just assumes that this is coming out pretty soon here if it's already on the database, right? So I'm still being like optimistic. Well, not optimistic, but like cautious because obviously I don't want to get burned. But what you imagine like in a few months it'd come out? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean the way they uploaded it was uploaded with some like new key art. So it has like new cover art, which I know like Tyler McVicker, he was basically saying like this just reiterates what he's been hearing for a while, that this is going to be like a relaunch for the game, right? Like it's going to be a new version that they'll probably launch alongside a big patch and some potentially new content. Um, the fact that it's showing up on the database, this I think it came from that Twitter account that posts whenever like
Oh
game
yeah,
files get
yeah.
uploaded and stuff. The fact that it's been put up with artwork probably means that it's going to have a store page up within the next few weeks to month, right? So I imagine that an announcement is probably coming later this month. And if I was to make a guess, it would probably have a release sometime in March. Um, but who knows? Because it's not like there's a file size or anything up, so no actual files have been made public or anything yet. It's just the actual store page. But yeah, I'm excited to see how this turns out. I do hope that this puts the game on like some good light, at least on console. I think on PC it's been doing good for a while now. Like I think it's in positive on Steam again now, and a lot more people have given it a chance after quite a few patches. But I'm definitely looking forward to giving it another go when the big update comes out. Just this because I haven't played it in like nearly a year at this point, so there's been quite a few patches since then, and I kind of just want to wait for the next big one to really dive in and play more of the side stuff. Because I did most of the stuff in the game, but I did leave a few bits here and there to wait for these patches. So yeah, I'm definitely excited to see how this turns out.
Yeah, I saw the new Kia. It looks pretty interesting. I really hope this does come to console soon because it's like such a weird game. Like whenever people think of Cyberpunk, they think of negativity, which makes sense, and like I still do to some extent. But like I don't know, I really like Cyberpunk 2077. One of my favorite games of no, it'd been 2 years ago now, in 2020. Yeah, I just really want this game to be fixed for people on console so that people could try it out and you know actually play the game instead of just complaining about the bugs, which are obviously valid because it was really bad on console. But yeah, I did look up to see when like the current release date is for it, and the last time it was delayed was like in October, and they said Q1 2022. So yeah, that would be like in the next 2 months. So it looks like it might be coming out here soon, which is pretty exciting. But yeah, we'll move on. Anyways, you could talk about this next news story regarding Star Wars 1313 since you're more in the know than me.
Yeah, so this was just a kind of small one, but one of like the Star Wars kind of like leaker channels posted like a new, I think it was about like 3 4 minute video of just some more like prototype footage from Star Wars 1313, which if you don't know was a game that was in development from LucasArts back in 2012 ish. That was meant to be coming out for like the PS4 and stuff. It was shown off at E3 just before Disney acquired Lucasfilm, and that's when the game got cancelled because Disney basically just put every project either on hold or cancelled it. And unfortunately, 1313 was one of those that did get cancelled. And it's probably like the one project that I think everyone has wanted to come back that knows anything about it. It looked like it was going to be a really cool like open world game where you'd initially start off playing as some random bounty hunter who'd eventually get killed by Boba Fett, and then you would play as him for the rest of the game. But the footage just showed like more like prototype footage of Boba Fett chasing down some guy through Coruscant, with like mainly just gray box stuff, just showing animations and like a lot of climbing and set piece stuff, very Uncharted esque, like the original demo was. But it's just sad because I'm just like, man, this game could have been so good, and I still hope that one day it comes back in some form. I know there was a lot of like old devs were saying a lot of the stuff was used in like Jedi Fallen Order and things, but I'd still love to see like a bounty hunting game. But interestingly, after this footage leaked, a few of the old devs were saying how it's cool to see the footage come out, but like some of the ideas and content they had from this has been used in like projects since, like Mando and Book of Boba Fett. Like in the prototype footage, he's like running through like a butcher's place, and there's like frozen tauntauns and stuff. And in the latest episode of Boba Fett, we see like a butcher's place with like frozen tauntauns and stuff. So obviously, there's a lot of people at Lucasfilm that would have worked on this game and like did a lot of like background work for it that are still at Lucasfilm to this day working on the shows and things. So a lot of that stuff can easily come back. I mean, a lot of the ideas from 1313 were used in the final season of Clone Wars. So it's cool to see they're still doing stuff with it. I just hope one day it comes back. Because like an Uncharted-esque game in Star Wars has always sounded cool to me. I mean, Amy Hennig's game sounded great too, so who knows? Maybe one day.
Yeah, maybe one day. That's cool to see though. Yeah, nice to see that at least made its way into like certain projects, but it'd be cool to see it come back eventually. Especially since they're doing so many Star Wars games now. Like,
Yeah.
to Respawn themselves are doing like 3 right now. But yeah. Anyways, a cool news story that dropped literally a few days ago was the first sort of layer of PlayStation integration with Discord. So now you can link your account, your PlayStation account, to your Discord account, and now whenever you're on Discord, it will show what you're currently playing on PlayStation, which is pretty nice. I believe Xbox has had this for ages, so it's nice to see finally native support for PlayStation. So that's really, really cool to see. Obviously, the big one is still to come with like, Discord integration with like calls and stuff. Being able to be on like your PS5 and having your Discord interface on there would be really, really nice. And obviously, it's still expected to come, I believe, still in the early quarter of this year. So yeah, what'd you think about that, Charlie? Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool that we're finally getting it. It's nice that it's so early in the year because I remember when they initially announced like their plans that we'd hear more earlier this year. Obviously they did say it's just the start, so hopefully we see more of what we kind of speculated, where you'll be able to actually use Discord on PlayStation in some form. But this is a nice start. It's a feature, like you said, Xbox have had for a while, which is quite cool. So I'm glad that they finally got that. So if I'm playing on PlayStation, my friends can see that kind of thing. But yeah, I'm just more excited to see where they'll take the integration, because right now it's pretty basic, but it'd be nice to see some more Discord features on PlayStation rather than the other way around.
Mm-hmm. Definitely agree. I just want calls and stuff like that because like I still have some friends that like rather talk on PlayStation party chat than like Discord because they don't use Discord much. So having that like integrated where it forced them to use Discord would be nice, or some way. I wonder. I like there's still so many question marks about how that will work and what will happen to the current existing PlayStation parties and how you'd like obviously integrate Discord because as we talked about before, like how would PlayStation handle like not safe for work content on Discord? Because like you wouldn't like want like kids like literally being on like Uncharted Discord servers or something like that, and like having people on PC post like a bunch of explicit stuff. So like how do you like work on that stuff or decide what to show and what not to show? Still a lot of question marks around that, but exciting nonetheless. So yeah, hopefully we don't have to wait long before we get to see more of the integration come to PlayStation 5. So yeah. Anyways, a sad news story that will personally be sad for you, Charlie, and me, is the fact that Suicide Squad got delayed to 2023. I wasn't like it was surprising, but when this news story did come out from Bloomberg, it wasn't that surprising. The main reason for me, at least, is the fact that we still don't have a release date for Gotham Knights or Hogwarts Legacy. So like the fact that currently all 3 of these games are coming out this year didn't seem realistic at all. Not maybe realistic in the fact that they're maybe not all ready, but commercially and like market like wise, you don't want to release 3 games back to back like that. Yeah, still very sad nonetheless. If you ask me, I think hopefully we'll at least see Gotham Knights and Hogwarts. I believe is like a 50-50 in my opinion, but at least Hogwarts or at least Gotham Knights should come out this year, and hopefully obviously Gotham Knights or Hogwarts Legacy and Suicide Squad will come out next year. So yeah, I did the math, and if this does come out in 2023, that's like a whopping 8 years since Batman Arkham Knight. So that's probably like one of the longest, game dev cycles I've seen for a studio. What do you think about that, Charlie?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, we still haven't officially like heard anything from
I
Warner
feel like they
Brothers
would
or
cancel that
like
though. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's weird that like nothing's been said because obviously it's from Bloomberg, which is, Jason Schreier, a very notable journalist. So it's weird that nothing's been said. But I did just quickly check and like their Twitter and website and stuff still says 2022. So we'll see. But like as we'll get to in the next thing as well, WB's head like did reiterate recently like that Gotham Knights and Hogwarts Legacy are releasing this year, at least as of when he said it. I know there was some rumors before then that Hogwarts is getting delayed, and then they said no, it is this year. So who knows? I think Gotham Knights is like a surefire thing for this year, just
We've
because
seen so much gameplay
we've
already. Yeah.
seen. Well, we saw that demo originally. We haven't seen too much since then, but we did see the demo at the reveal, and it was meant to be last year.
Yeah.
So even if it's later in the year, I feel like it has to be this year. But Suicide Squad, I think even when they showed the stuff last year, I thought it was gonna be 2023 anyway. To be honest, I was not expecting it to be this year, and if it was going to be very late in the year. So it doesn't surprise me if it does get delayed, and it probably has if Bloomberg is anything to go by. Sucks nonetheless, but hey, I don't mind. If we still get one DC game this year, then I'm cool with that.
I was joking around that the next time we'll see a game from Rocksteady, I'd have like kids, which honestly, oh my god, that's crazy. Yeah, 8 years, 8 years is crazy. Just shows how like hard game development is. Like, remember all those years we were waiting for them to announce their game at like what the Game Awards or E3, and Sefton Hill would always come out with that tweet saying not this time. And now ever since it was like announced like 2 years ago, it's still been like a long wait. This game has definitely had trouble development. But hopefully, things are going well and that we'll see it in 2023. But yeah. Anyways, that's kind of been it because, yeah, that is all we have for you this week in terms of gaming news. Quite a bit of news, obviously, with Sony buying Bungie and a bunch of the cool news stories that we got here. So, yeah, definitely been quite a week. Next week will be exciting to talk about Dying Light 2 and Sifu. Yeah, so both of those games will have impressions for you next week, which should be pretty exciting. And, yeah, with that being said, we'll see you next week for episode 58. Take care.
See you later.